Hello, my name is Malik Abazdab. Welcome to PM Express. Promises made, promises broken, promises repeated. In fact, President John Mahama has gained such a reputation for making and breaking his promises that you cannot trust him to stand by any of the promises that he's making in recent times. That is the verdict of the opposition new Patriotic Party. Is there any credence to this claim? When we come back from the break, I will introduce my guests who will answer the questions as to whether we can trust the NPP itself when it makes allegations against the president when it comes to the making and breaking of promises. Keep watching. You're welcome. You're working PM Express. We're discussing the NPP's claims against the president as far as promises are concerned. This is the season of promises because elections are afoot. My guests are Member of Parliament for Efutu, NPP MP for Efutu, Mr. Alexander Afenyo-Markins. Honorable, you're welcome. And then across the table is a governance expert, Mr. David Agbe, who is a friend of this show. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Before
my name has no S.
Marking.
Yes.
Okay. I think that many of us in the media tend to get it.
So don't worry.
To add S.
We'll continue to correct.
But before I come to you guys, I want us to listen to excess of what Mr. Boakye Jakun, who is the policy advisor to the NPP, had to say yesterday at a press conference, which forms the basis for this discussion.
It is not surprising that their greatest achievement in this sector has been the creation of ingenious schemes to facilitate the stealing of over 1 billion Ghana cedis from the sector and sharing this loot among themselves and their cronies. With John Mahama's track record, the NPP cannot fathom how the unemployment situation will improve under a future Mahama-led government. It is this outright theft from the public purse, fiscal indiscipline, reckless expenditures, mismanagement of our finances that has presented President Mahama with the unenviable record of being the only leader in Ghana's history to superintend over 3 back-to-back double-digit fiscal deficits. Today, the relative but shaky stability that the president claims we are seeing has been made possible because of the IMF bailout. This simply confirms President Mahama's incompetence and a lack of vision. Ghanaians elected him to do a job. He has failed miserably. He then called on the IMF, who made him agree to all kinds of conditions before they offered their help. Now Ghanaians have to endure hardship and suffering brought about by the austerity measures of the IMF. After all, President Mahama agreed with the IMF as one condition of the bailout to lay off public sector workers starting from 2017. The 2015 agreement report spells this out clearly, and I quote, "The government will undertake, with the assistance of development partners, a comprehensive plan to rationalize the size and increase the efficiency of civil service and allied services on the payroll. The related strategic plan will be ready in December 2015, the results of which will inform the actual rationalization of staff, which is expected to begin in 2017. You may refer to the 2015 IMF country report number 15/103, page 17, subheaded Civil Service Reform. Rationalization is another way of saying retrenchment, layoffs, or downsizing. Whichever way you call it is the same difference. Go home. People will be laid off. What this simply means is that the current freeze on employment in the public sector will not be lifted to give jobs to Ghanaians. Instead, the grand plan is to rob public sector workers of their jobs in 2016. It is with one eye on this abysmal performance of the president that the voters of Ghana must view the credibility of the long list of promises delivered at the weekend from a government that has no policy credibility and had to run to the IMF in 2014 for some limited injection of credibility from that external body. Just last week, Ghana was compelled to come out effectively to admit to a newspaper publication that in order to pay salaries for September, it had to take back almost $500 million Ghana cedis allocated to the various ministries and departments for their work. Among this was 200 million the Treasury took back from the Ministry of Roads and Highways, meant to construct roads and pay contractors for work already done. The future under another Mahama term would indeed be bleak. From their own resource allocation, the next 4 years, for the next 4 years, the likely scenario is that we are very likely not to have any money to pay our salaries. We can't do what others are doing, and many others take for granted. We can have schools that work, decent homes, good jobs with good incomes for those willing to work, roads that are motorable, and a public service system that works. This is the solution. These are the solutions the NPP is putting on the table, and I say, yes, we can, yes, we must. In my capacity as policy advisor to the NPP presidential candidate, I wish to assure all Ghanaians that in Nana Akufo-Addo, you will have a competent, incorruptible, selfless, honest, and a compassionate leader with a competent and disciplined team to deliver on the solutions to our nation's problem. Change is coming. Yes. Change is coming. Yes, yes we can. Yes, we must. Change is coming. Yes, we can. Yes, we must. But it is up to you and I to make that change happen.
You're welcome back. You just watched just a clip of what Mr. Boakye Ejiakor, who is a policy advisor to the NPP flag bearer, Nana Akufo-Addo, had to say at yesterday's press conference. Let me talk to my guests in the studio. Let me start with Mr. Afenyo-Markin. This appeared to be a hurriedly organized press conference, didn't it?
Well, thank you. Let's situate the whole press conference in a proper state. We've had the NDC in government for 8 years. And here we were, they went to adore their manifesto and created the impression as if it was a party in opposition now coming into government. What we tried to do was to remind Ghanaians and also to draw the attention of Ghanaians to the reality. And what was the reality? The reality has been that the NDC in its 8 years has broken all promises it made to the Ghanaian people. What were the promises that the NDC made? One, that it was going to ensure that we enjoyed a one-time premium in terms of health insurance. they've not been able to achieve that. They said they were also going to revamp and revive certain industries that had collapsed. As we speak, we are yet to see a single industry that they have revived. Meanwhile, they have told us that
Commander.
Oh, I'm coming to that. I said, meanwhile, they have told us that Commander Sugar Factory is back on stream. But the 7,500 jobs that Commander was supposed to create has not seen any positive gain by way of recruitment. How many people have been recruited?
The farmers have been given money, and the farmers are cultivating.
No farmer has been given. No farmer has been given any money. They are rather saying that they are now in talks with the Indian government to support them with a new plantation program where they are going to engage in sugarcane plantation.
That's already been considered, isn't it?
No farmer in this country has been given money to expand his or her sugarcane farm as an outgrower.
No, but there are off-take agreements with the company that if you produce your sugarcane, the company will buy them. That is an opportunity for people to
Which
invest
agreement?
their
Have you
own
cited
money.
any of these agreements?
There are off-take agreements.
I'm saying, have you cited any of these?
Well, the fact that I haven't seen it doesn't mean
it must exist. There's one thing playing to the gallery. There's one thing saying something for the media to consume, and another thing having it as a reality. They told us, and we got the impression that 7,500 jobs had been created. Weren't we giving that impression?
That would be created, not
no,
had
I'm
been
saying,
created.
weren't we giving that impression?
Yes, the president at the launch.
I'm saying that weren't we giving that impression?
Okay.
Weren't we giving the impression that the factory was just going to
create 7,500
weren't we giving the impression that the factory was just going to start production? As we speak, has it started production? They are now advertising for a partner, a private investor, to go and partner them. So that is a broken promise. They have attempted, but we are in the 8th year, they have not succeeded. Come to the general state of the economy. We've had a government that went to the Chinese government to procure a loan, the CDB facility, in 2010. Eventually, Parliament approved it in 2011. They procured $3 billion for 3 major projects, which I consider very important. The railway infrastructure project, the expansion of the railway lines, the landing beach project for our fisher folks, and the oil and gas project. As of 2015 November, when the government realized that it was unable to meet the preconditions for disbursement, and thereby coming to Parliament for approval, for capping to 1.5 billion, we had lost over $200 million.
But this is not the first time we've gone into a bad loan, because
no, it's not a bad loan. You have not allowed me to land. You've not allowed me to land. I am saying, and it is indeed the contention of our party, that if the government had put its systems in place, if it had gotten its priorities right, it would have been able to negotiate the loan properly to enable it meet the pre-disbursement requirement. The issue here is that the Chinese put in penalties, and out of these penalties, if you are unable to make the counterpart funding available, you have to pay them some penalty, because according to them, they have made their money available for you to draw down. If you don't meet certain deadline, you pay money. These were penal charges, and I'm saying that over a period, government lost $200 million alone to the Chinese financiers because of penalties. These monies, if you convert them into cedis, you are looking at over $800 million.
No, but the point I'm making to you is,
I'm not talking about bad loan. I am talking about the government. If you today you say you want to sell me this laptop, but I should pay you 500 Ghana cedis. If I don't have 500 Ghana cedis and you give me the laptop, deposit 200. If you don't, I'm going to charge you a penalty. Okay. I'm saying that the government of Ghana, because of incompetence, because of bad negotiations, could not access the facility and ended up paying 200 million. That was not that was not the cost of the loan. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the cost of the loan. I'm talking about pre-disbursement penalties. And
it took them 3 years to come back to Parliament to realize that, look, we can't meet the pre-disbursement conditions, so we now want to cap the facility.
Because the
at
conditions must have been too stringent. Because at the time we were entering into the loan, I remember clearly that Imani argued that the conditions were so stringent,
so they
it would
should
be difficult
stay
for
away.
us to meet them.
They did not, and they lost $200 million to the Chinese government.
Let me pick David's thoughts. David, you are a governance person, and you sit back and you watch the conduct of the campaigns so far. The Bawumia gives a lecture, the governing party responds with the president delivering highlights of the party's manifesto before the launch, and then immediately after the launch, the NPP comes, organize a press conference, litany of accusations. What is your assessment of the conduct of the campaigns so far?
Yes, Malik, thank you very much. I think that the political parties, all of them, are trying to more like sell their ideas to Ghanaians. And into politics and into political science, what we do believe is the fact that people always compete for a political authority and influence. And so some of these days we are not surprised at all. Whilst people are competing for power and authority, some of these things will actually happen. And that is what all the political parties are doing. Luckily enough, the NDC has come out with their manifesto, which was launched just last week, Saturday. Good enough. We are expecting the NPP to also launch theirs maybe probably next month. PPP and other smaller parties has also launched theirs. So we are trying to monitor what are the policy differentiations and the policy alternative. Let me say that the political system happens to be our laboratory. So we keep on monitoring all the political parties to see exactly what they are proposing to Ghanaians. And so if NDC has actually launched their manifesto and NPP is doing a counter press conference, I think that if the NPP has been more strategic and have that ability to look beyond average human level, they should have launched their manifesto first, and then the ruling government would do the counter accusations. I'm saying it based on the fact that a political party which has lost 2 successful elections and going into a 3rd election, you need to be more proactive and very strategic.
Their point is, in the past 2 elections, what has happened is when they put their policy options out, the governing party clones them and either takes them or bastardizes them. So it decided that this time around, they won't put their ideas out. You can't quarrel with that.
I think if you have that helicopter factor thinking, ability to think beyond what an average person could take in political reality, you need to understand the game very well that, I mean, this is a political game. Election time is coming. You've lost 2 elections, 2008, 2012, entering into a 3rd election. So you need to be more proactive and more calculated
so you
in
think
your
they should have
decision-making process. Yes, so that the ruling government will rather chase them. But now you are giving the mandate, you are giving the leverage to the ruling government, which has every state machinery to prosecute the agenda, to take the lead, and then now you are rather chasing them with a press conference, which, I mean, looking at Mr. Ejakon's presentation, I could realize that he's now learning the trade of politics. He's a banker, so maybe, I mean, crafting a political message to counter the ruling government. He's yet to actually understand the dynamics.
He has been in this business. He contested the NPP's flag bearership in 2007, didn't he? He was the campaign chairman in the last election. He's been in this game for...
I, as a political watcher and listening to him, I mean, attentively, I couldn't, more like trying to balance the equation, where exactly he's coming from and his political message. I mean, crafting a political message is a very, tedious thing.
So the message was not clear enough for you?
The message wasn't clear enough. Any average person listening, he will ask himself, what is this man trying to tell Ghanaians? So I mean, crafting a political message, you need to be very smart enough to be able to convince the listener that this is what you meant and this is what you want to actually achieve. Somebody has launched a manifesto and been able to, I mean, chronologically list a lot of things that he wants to do in his manifesto. To counter it, you need to be more smart enough to punch holes in the fact that if it is about education, what have they done?
And to be fair, they did that. We will go into some of those things that they pointed out and said there were contradictions in what the party had said it would do, and there were things that it didn't do. And to be fair to him, he did that. Let me come to Honorable. You just heard a damning verdict that your policy advisor didn't sell his message.
First of all, you see, with the greatest respect to him, I strongly disagree with the suggestions he makes about how he feels or thinks about Mr. Boakye Jarko. That he's a banker and he's not a politician and all that. I don't think he's really followed the track record of Mr. Boakye Jarko. So to situate the argument on that personal level, I think...
Well, that's his view, so we can deal
That's
with
why I'm saying that I disagree. I know it is his view. That's why I'm saying I disagree with that viewpoint. What Boakye Jarko presented, if I should properly put it, is a view of the party, except that he is the one who spoke on it as an individual, so not his personal property. And I just want...
But he said it was not properly presented.
So then he should say that the NPP's argument, he does not get it as an individual. Okay? And if he's critiquing it as an individual, of course, it is his opinion. But I don't think that he's critiquing it as an expert in the field of political communication. We have our political views. The NPP sought to point out to the NDC that, look, you've been in office for 8 years. You made so many promises. One example was on this free SHS for boarding education, that the over 120,000 boarding students were going to benefit from free SHS. Yet in their manifesto, they now qualify it by saying that, oh, we are going to ensure free education for needy students who are enjoying boarding facility.
Okay,
how do you identify?
They didn't quite say that. Let me read to you exactly what they said in their manifesto.
Very well, read it. Page 5 or so. Page 5 or page
15.
Page 15.
Page
yes,
15.
Read it.
They said second cycle education. That's I heard that. And there's some senior high schools.
Yeah.
We intend to
Yes.
expand the progressively free SHS program to cover boarding students with emphasis on needy students.
Very well.
Yes.
Let's stop there.
So it will cover
no, this
boarding
is English.
students.
This is English. It doesn't need a secondary meaning. This is ordinary English. We would implement this to cover boarding education, emphasis on needy students. What are you trying to say? You're saying that in the implementation, as you roll it out, whatever rebate, whatever consideration is for needy students. Now compare it to what Mr. President said in the State of the Nation address.
Okay, he
that
said
over 120,000.
Yes.
All right. So the president's promise was generally to cover every boarding student.
No, I mean, there's just 120,000 boarding students. The entire boarding studentship is not 120,000. I think that they qualified it even in this one. He said 120,000 boarding students will get free education. In the manifesto, they said they will expand their progressively free SHS to cover boarding students with specific emphasis on... I do not think that there is any difference between these two statements as you are seeking to project.
The total number of boarding students, as the president referred to, are the 120,000. It's not something that he's taking out a certain number from a bigger number. Please, so don't get that wrong. I'm saying that he made a general statement. If Nanadu says that I'm going to implement free SHS, he means free SHS to cover every student in secondary school, including technical schools. All right? If you make the same promise and you later turn around to say that, look, you're going to emphasize the free education with emphasis on needy students, what are you going to say?
This is not an idiomatic expression. This is not a secondary language which needs interpretation. This is ordinary language. I am going to implement free education, emphasis on needy students, meaning that I am going to identify those students who are needy so that I make education free for them. Simplicity. I'm telling you that we hold the view that this is a broken promise, because you have in one breath said you're going to implement it across board. Now in your manifesto, you try to qualify it. Now another broken promise. Mr. President tells Ghanaians that, oh, I am going to revive all the Nkrumah collapsed factories. We've had the PNDC for 19 years. No,
PNDC
11 years.
years.
We've had an NDC 1, 8 years. And we've had an NDC 2, another 8 years. Have you now seen the need to revive the collapsed factories under Nkrumah? Meanwhile, you poo-pooed another contestant who said that I'm going to channel the resources of this country in a manner that would enhance the creation of industries at various districts in this country.
Yeah, but
the NDC said
the fact that previous NDC governments, they were led by different people. If John Mahama casts himself in the light of Nkrumah and decides that his NDC will revamp all companies, moribund companies that were set up by Nkrumah, you can't use the fact that the previous NDC government led by different people didn't do it and say to that extent he can't or won't do it.
Let me agree with you. Let me agree with you that as an individual, the new NDC from 2009 has its own new vision, correct? I want to agree with you.
From 2012, because even from 2009, it was still males.
No. That argument is very misplaced. How can you say that a vice president who is the head of economic management team is never part of a government? Please, that argument that sometimes people put across, I find it very, very absurd with the greatest respect. Why? The man was vice president. He was part of the NDC administration. He was Atamosa's vice president. That is how come when the man died, he became the president.
But don't
say that Mahama was not part of the NDC administration.
You are a lawyer.
Merely because he was a vice president.
You are a lawyer.
Yes,
you know that the Constitution does not stipulate any specific duties to the vice president. The vice president works at the behest of the president. You know that.
No. So if you are a vice president, you just sit there as a zombie? Is that what you are saying?
No, but...
No. As a vice president, Atamos assigned him as a head of the economic management team. All right? I'm saying that if I should agree with your argument that is a new NDC led by John Mahama, I want to say that generally put, from 2009 to date, we've had this administration with its team. The only person who is out of the team is Atamos.
I can mention 2 companies that they have revamped, but I have to go to David Agbe, Honorable.
This kind of argument, I don't think I will make me. Let me land on the point. You asked a question. I'm saying that they have been in office for 8 years. President Mahama has been part of this team. The only person who is not part of the team now is Atamos. But he himself said, when he was sworn in, he himself said that Professor Mills gave him every opportunity. So, you cannot now come back and tell me that, oh, because you were the vice president, you could not take the initiative. You could not do it. Now you are the president. In any event, this is your 8th year. Have you now come to the realization that you need industries to create employment? I thought at first, they said, oh, they had expanded infrastructure and Ghanaians have jobs. We didn't have problem with unemployment. Have they now conceded that unemployment is a problem?
No, I'll come back to you and I will list companies that they have revamped. I have to go to David Agbe. Honorable is pointing out contradictions in his view between what the president said when he presented the highlights and what is contained in the manifesto. Do you think the president shot himself in the foot by doing that he should have just waited and done the document itself, or he should have restricted himself to what was in the document?
I think that the president should have actually consulted his manifesto. I mean, the manifesto is a marketing document for a political party. The manifesto presents exactly what you want to do when you become president, or if your party becomes, form government. This is what you are going to do. So speaking, you need to be able to look into your manifesto, what your manifesto, says. Just like the Constitution. The Constitution is more like the Bible for governance activity. So everything you need to be able to consult your Constitution. So, I mean, looking at the manifesto, I think that the president could have more like, consulted the manifesto, and the manifesto will be able to preempt exactly what they want to do. So in that case, I could say that yes, the president, one way or the other, has shot himself in the foot.
But to him, he did. He was holding the manifesto and flipping through, except that this is a president who is on top of the issues. He knows things at his fingertips. He may have mentioned something which was not captured in the very detail that he mentioned in the document.
Exactly. And I think that the criticism by Zafenyo Markins is in order. But the reality is that the NDC promised that they were going to construct 200 secondary school, facilities. And as we speak now, they've constructed only 10. And they said 123 is on its way, which by November, they'll be able to present it to the public that they've been able to more like achieve some magnitude as far as their promises in terms of education is concerned, which is good. It is good in a sense that in political communication, one of the things that we looked at for is the fact that a government cannot achieve everything. And so you need to work towards achieving what you've indicated into your manifesto. So what have you done? The government has presented what he has done as we speak now. So they will mention they've been able to construct 10 secondary schools. They are working on 123 now, which is work in progress. So they are telling you this is what we've done, this is what we are doing, and then in terms of futuristics, what they will do when they attend maybe a political authority 2017. And so that is how in political communication you need to be able to present your message. At this time, let's look at their manifesto. What have they done in terms of education? What have they done in terms of health? What have they done in terms of road constructions? Then we'll be able to measure and see, have they been able to attain about 60% or 70%? And then we can talk about what they want to do going forward.
I have to take a break at this point so that when we come back, my apologies, when we come back, you will land on that point and then we'll continue with this discussion. You are watching PM Express and we are discussing the NPP's claims that the president has a reputation for making
has rather gained notoriety for
making and breaking promises.
Making promises and breaking notoriety.
Yeah, welcome back. You're watching PM Express and we are discussing the NPP's claims against President John Mahama and the NDC. Let me pick a few of your comments and then we'll continue with the discussion. This one says, Malik, the NPP... okay, this one says, Mr. Host, let the NPP man flow in his arguments before interrupting him. This is Pa from Dunkwa. If you give Mahama even additional 50 years, he will always be at the foundation level of affairs. This is still Pa from Dunkwa. This one says, please, Afenyo Markin, take your time and present your ideas and allow Malik to ask the questions. But I can say that the promise to produce iPad to basic level students cannot be fulfilled. This is Isaac Wanipo in Serego in the Upper East region. Malik, NPP are not learning at all. Their deficiency in politics has made them to be in opposition, and they will remain in opposition if they don't think beyond organizing press conferences to counter and condemn NDC's manifesto and stuff like that. We, the floating voters, are waiting to hear what NPP has to offer. Has to offer Ghanaians differently from the NDC. And here they are chasing and talking plenty about NDC's promises. This is Bambakia Samed from Fumbisi, also in the Upper East region. There are so many of them. I'll come back to them. Let me come to David. You were making a point before we went on the break.
Yes, I was talking about political communication, which I said that, I mean, glancing through various manifestos, and especially what NDC has actually presented now, we are looking at what have they done now. So, Malik, when you go down there, ask the people. NDC promised the fact that, yes, they will construct 200 secondary
What is
school
your
education.
honest assessment in respect of
I
the
mean,
construction of
going
these
around the
schools?
country, not sitting in an office or whatever, just 3 days ago, I was at Sunyane just trying to monitor their manifesto launch. Passing through one of the villages called Edujama, I saw a beautiful secondary school over there. I entered into the classroom to see exactly what have they done. And I could say that the edifice was so nice. I am yet to visit Central Region and other places. We've gone around the country, you know, up to February. We are yet to go around again to monitor the activities, what government has done and all that. And in terms of hospitals too, in Accra here, the Rich Hospital, Police Hospital, and then Legon. I visited those places, and you could realize that, yes, they've done something very good on the ground, which I think that every Ghanaian will appreciate the fact that, yes, it is good, because we need development. One of the critical things that is lacking in the African continent is the fact that we do not have those institutions. We do not have enough development. So all the time we are lacking behind. And so if a government is trying to put all those infrastructure there for people to have an access, don't forget, health is very important. And Kwame Nkrumah, I remember Kwame Nkrumah said that what he wants to do is to minimize disease during his administration. And also he touched on education, saying that he wants to reduce the incident of ignorance. And so if you have education and then health, and you are building a lot of infrastructure, it's a very good one. And so we are monitoring all those activities to see whether government is actually, you know, building a lot of infrastructure. Those infrastructures will offer job opportunities for other people who are into health, who are into education and all that. It is very good enough. We are expecting government to do more so that at least we can be able to bridge the infrastructure gap that we have. And so if they are taking money from IMF, as Honorable Afenyo Markin said, it is good. When you take the money, you need to use it such that at the end of the day, you could be able to account for what you've used the money to do. And as far as my knowledge is concerned, as somebody who has read international relations and foreign policy of this country, I know very well that all of the government, excluding even a champion, who said that he was not going to, join IMF bandwagon, but all other successful government, they've all gone into IMF. So I don't think that we have the financial muscle now to say that we are discounting IMF. I mean, we are a growing country, a developing country.
There are those who argue that it was our own doing that sent us to the IMF.
Exactly.
Because you had an economy that was growing at 14% in 2011, grew at 8.8% in 2012, 7.6% in 2013. And then the next year, 2014, you are going to the IMF. What happened? Because in 2012, you raked up a deficit of 12%. And that was the doing of yourselves.
Yes.
So you can't say that the country's finances are not doing well and that was the reason why we went to the IMF. It was because some argue that we didn't manage our affairs well. That was why we were forced to go to the IMF.
Exactly. We've been doing that for so long a time. Various governments have been doing it for so long a time. I mean, they've been mismanaging, our revenues. They've been mismanaging our natural resources. So all the time, we don't have that negotiation skills. And so all the time, we just want to join IMF because we can get some level of economic benefit. But let me state that unless we are able, parliamentarians, for instance, I have done a lot of presentations to parliamentary select committees here and there. I can tell you that our parliamentarians are those people disappointing the whole country because they don't understand, issues, how they can negotiate for Ghana to get something good enough. He touched on oil. We've discovered oil during President Kufuor's regime. 2010, we started producing oil in this country. Ask yourself, how much have we gained as a revenue? I mean,
because all the money we are getting, we are using it to make interest payment.
Exactly. So you realize that why is it that our parliamentarians, when they are just approving, they just approve it for approving sake?
Because the majority will always have their way and the minority will have their say.
Not at all. Not at all. When you go to the select committees, there, we don't know NDC, NPP. You present an issue, at the end of the day, NDC person or NPP person will ask critical questions. When you provide them with the evidence, they say, we cannot do it, and so we just have to.
But when it comes to the plenary, the majority will still vote for it, even if it doesn't make any sense.
But then, if all of them could stand tall and challenge the ruling government that if we should do this, it will benefit us, Ghana wouldn't have been where we are now.
Let me hear from Honorable.
And so, if we discovered oil and the whole, it's just like a gift. We are giving it to people just like that. And so we need to have that proper negotiation skill to be able to manage our natural resources very well. It is the natural resources that could generate a lot of revenue for the country. You cannot continue to, go to IMF or any international organization for maybe a credit facility. They know that whilst you do not have money and you are going there to beg, at least they will try to punish you. They will not give you what you want.
Let me hear from
unless we are able to manage our own resources very well. That is where we can have that economic independence.
The point. Honorable and his MPP believe that at this point we are not managing ourselves well.
Well, you see, I take the views of my brother here to be an objective thinking, but I'm sure as we go along, I'll have the opportunity of critiquing some of the things that he says. Now, the point here is, we've had a government that has ruled this country for 8 years. According to him, they have been doing some projects. He's not been able to do a complete comparative analysis. In his submissions, he said, I followed them to Sunyani. I saw a school.
He didn't quite follow them. He went on his own.
No, he said he followed them. Please, I'm quoting him. He said he followed them. He didn't say he went on his own. That's not what he said.
Honorable Afenyo Markins, I think that he knows me very well. He's just trying to play a political destiny. I am the executive director for Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. And so we talked about governance, we talked about security. And so you cannot sit in your office and be mapping political strategies here. You need to go to the grassroots.
Absolutely.
I think you'll be able to identify whether the government is doing what he promises to do. If you do not do that, then you are not a political watcher.
I think we understand
so for me,
that.
I followed all the political parties wherever they go. Quite recently, I was in Western Region. Dr. Pakwesi Ndum went to a village after Asenkregwa. He went there telling the people that he wants to build a police station for them. Do you know what the people requested? They said they don't like police station. They like toilet facility. And so we have been going around everywhere the politicians go just to ensure that we understand and we pick information from the ground. And so if MPP goes to Tamale, we will be there because we want to understand the issue.
Thank you for that intervention. I think that's clear enough.
So what is wrong here?
Well, I take that I didn't understand what he said. So you were right. He followed them.
He didn't need to come in again.
Okay, so you make your point.
No, he didn't need to come in again.
So make your point, Honorable.
According to him, he followed the NDC and he was able to spot an edifice. According to him, he's seen another project somewhere. What he didn't tell the people of Ghana, as a governance expert, is whether, in the same vein, he's been to some other deprived communities. And on the balance, he's able to say that, look, more could have been done, or more should have been done to alleviate poverty and to give opportunities to people. Look, the general sense of the average Ghanaian is suffering. Ghanaians are enduring hardship.
Look, 6 years of doomsor. After the single spine.
6 years?
Yes, of course. From 2010. It's only recently that doomsor started in 2010. We are in 2016.
It was actually 2011.
Well, it started in 2010. You can check the records again. It started in 2010. Take it that it even started in 2011. We endured it for 5 years. If your date is correct, and I would...
Yes,
I would,
because I know that it's 2011,
don't worry.
but let's not...
If granted you are right and I am wrong, it's been 5 years of doomsor. Businesses within the period collapsed. Businesses suffered. When they introduced a single spine, between that time and now, that Ghanaians felt that, oh, our salaries have improved and all that. To date, can we say that the value of that income is the same as what we have today? The economists will tell you that the real income today is as low as anything because fuel prices have been going up. Parents are paying high fees. Electricity.
But government is absorbing some of the fees.
Absorbing what?
For the day schools, for example, the fees, the government is absorbing part of it.
Are parents paying fees? Are parents enduring that hardship? Are parents suffering? Or they've been relieved? If you go to the College of Nursing and the College of Education, they've withdrawn the allowances. In my constituency, last semester, some students could not write their examination because they had not paid their fees at the nursing school there. In the past, they had allowance. Meanwhile, government has had so much and same being abused. We talk about projects. He told us that in the past, because of the conduct of government, they did not have the negotiation skills. Yes, indeed, I agree with him on that score.
He said governments.
Oh, I'm saying that in the past, I'm repeating what he said, that because governments could not properly protect the public purse, going to the IMF meant that we went there with very weak negotiation skills. I agree with him. We've not had the best of governance since independence, at least the way Ghanaians wanted it. If Ghanaians had it the way they wanted it, Nkrumah would not have been kicked out. And it's been so all along. So we've not gotten the best yet. I concede. But for this government, you had oil. Did we utilize the oil revenue the way we're supposed to? The advantage this government had were very unprecedented. No government since independence had these advantages.
But Honorable, this point about oil...
Let me finish. The IMF boss, on the eve of the signing of the external credit facility, issued a statement that when we discovered oil, we were under the impression that we had gotten to the heavens, so we abused them. That is how come you go to Kumasi and they will do fixed aeronautical light and expand the runway and tell you it's $29 million.
25.
No, there's 29. It's not 25. It's 20. No, I will not leave. I will not concede to this one because I know that I have the hands up. It's $29 million. It's part of the records of power.
The
They said
refurbishment...
totally. No, everything. The cost of that project, $29 million. Don't debate me on that. I'm very clear on the figure. It's not
Honorable,
$25 million.
the reason I'm saying
because I was in Parliament.
It's been 25 million.
No.
In fact, only last week, your vice presidential candidate, Dr. Bawumia, mentioned 25 million.
Don't worry. I'll get you a copy of the Hansard. I'm so clear on this because the day Napo was asking the minister questions on the specific, the breakdown, when the minister could not provide the breakdown, I was seated right in Parliament. So I know that as a fact.
Why did Bawumia use 25?
I'm saying that
because that's what is publicly known. It's 25 million.
I'm saying that I will get you the Hansard. It's $29 million. It's not 25. Let's move on. He said Parliament is weak because we don't critique. We don't deal with issues. I disagree with him. Maybe.
Because you are a member of Parliament.
Yes, I sit in that chamber. I sit there. I participate in committee meetings and put NDC NPP aside. I know that at committee level, members critique issues that come. We don't just look at it and say approved, approved, approved. I don't know the committee he met. And I don't know whether he's been following debates on the floor of the House. If he says that certain people have not been doing critique, then maybe he's trying to refer to the majority. Maybe he's trying to refer to the majority. But as far as I sit on the minority bench and sitting as a member of the Finance Committee, Defense and Interior Committee, I can tell him that we don't sit there just approving. We do serious critique. We look at the issues. Maybe he should conclude by saying that, yes, the government uses its numbers to bulldoze its way. That's one I agree with him. But if he really wants to say that Parliament does not ensure value for money, then I'll ask him, is he aware that the minority has been in court on a number of issues? The minority has held press conference over press conference on a number of issues. Has he been following debates
which
in
are all
Parliament?
political?
Quite recently.
No, I never interjected. I never interjected.
Okay, Honorable,
I had a lot of disagreement with you. Yes, sure. So it's a misplaced submission. It's a misplaced submission to suggest that Parliament does not do its work. It's a misplaced submission, with the greatest respect to him.
Maybe he's saying you don't do
No,
enough.
I'm saying that he should deal with specific issues. In what area, on what issue, on what matter. Let me give you the CDB matter that I raised. In
the Chinese loan.
Yeah, exactly, the Chinese loan. The minority led by Akutose, my boss, raised serious issues with the conditions, okay? The $200 million that we lost was an avoidable money. It was something that we could have avoided because the minority critiqued the loan. I said, look, all these conditions, if you don't meet a certain deadline, you pay a penalty. You don't have the money. You are going for $3 billion for these major projects. Yet the conditions that the Chinese are giving you, we're not too sure you can meet it. And again, it took the same minority to make noise. I led a charge in Parliament. And eventually, the finance minister came to do the capping in November. That, okay, they are losing so much money. They no more want to assess the $3 billion. They now want to limit themselves to $1.5 billion. At which time, they had already paid over $200 million to the Chinese. Free money. Meanwhile, by abandoning the railway infrastructure project, by abandoning the landing beach project, the railway sector suffered. Our fisher folks, every year, we experience tidal waves. You know that. Recently, in the unlocked areas, in my own constituencies, we had 18 fishermen losing their canoes and their nets. When we did the cost, it was over 6 billion whole cities. That's 600,000 Ghana cities. There's no insurance. Nobody is compensating them. The landing beach project, we don't have it. So I'm telling you that, looking at this as an example, the minority did its work, or for that matter, Parliament did its work, except that the government had its way.
Can we move away from the Parliament argument?
Don't worry, once it has come in, I sit here as a parliamentarian, it is important.
Yeah, I think you have sufficiently, defended.
By saying so, he was indirectly trying to say, look, we are condoning impunity.
Well, you have sufficiently defended Parliament.
If that is sufficient enough and he's gotten it,
he wanted to make an intervention.
Let's come back to the governance.
Can you give him a minute to make his intervention?
Oh, back again? Okay, no problem.
Just a minute. Or if you want to let it go, then we move on.
Malik, to be honest with you, he's trying to defend the indefensible. I mean, majority of Ghanaians knows that parliamentarians are not doing what they are supposed to do.
Well, point out.
The fact is that quite recently, you
heard what I cannot. No. I cannot sit on this program.
He wants to cite an example. He wants to cite an example.
I will not sit here on this program for you to run the very institution. I am a member of. No.
Can he cite his example? Can he cite his example?
No, with the greatest respect. We can debate. We can disagree.
But Honorable,
but you cannot sit here.
He's a citizen.
He should give specific examples.
He's a citizen.
Who in Parliament has failed in his duty? I have not failed. I'm not sure you are referring to me.
Alex,
I'm not sure you are refer to an individual.
Alex, he's a citizen.
Member of Parliament.
He's entitled to his views
about
how the legislature works.
No, the situation is right.
So, but he's entitled.
You cannot make a sweeping statement.
No, but if he believes that Parliament is not doing his work, that's his view.
It should be founded on facts.
You can't take that away from him.
It should be founded on facts. it should be founded on facts.
You can't take his right from him.
I agree.
So
but
you were
it should be
citing an
founded on
example.
facts.
Let's hear his
let
example.
me cite an example. Quite recently, we all heard that the ECG, government want to privatize ECG for 25, years.
Yeah, concession.
All of them, parliamentarians, are they not saying yes?
Okay, let me explain to you.
No,
let me explain to you.
No, hold it.
You cannot say parliamentarians.
No. When you were talking, I kept quiet because you said I interjected.
Very well.
What is the outcome of that? ECG, now they are privatizing ECG. Both majority and minority, they are all there sitting there. You want to hand over ECG to a private company to run a monopolistic organization like ECG. And what do you think of Ghanaians in the villages where we've not extended electricity to? Do you think that a private man, even a government, has not been able to extend electricity to all the villages? Do you think that a private man will be able to extend electricity to all the villages that we want?
Parliament could have
and because I listened to some of the parliamentarians, I asked myself, why are they there? They've been making flimsy excuses that, because they sold Vodafone Ghana, look at what Vodafone is doing. Go to the villages and see whether Vodafone has a service over there. You go to the villages, you will not get access of Vodafone. It is MTN and Airtel. They are just selling and privatizing state institutions.
We don't have too much time left.
And so if you tell me that parliamentarians are doing what they are supposed to do, I will tell you no. They are not doing exactly that. If they are really doing exactly that, government will not even attempt to privatize.
David, thank you. I have just a few seconds for Honorable to rebut.
Let me ask him a simple question.
We don't have time. If you ask me a question, he has to answer. We don't have
time. Has he cited the Compact 2 document as a governance aspect? Have you cited it?
What is
okay.
Hold on.
Our time is up.
You should get your producer. You should get your producer to give you a minute more. Have you cited the Compact 2 document?
Our time is up.
I'm asking,
have you cited it?
What is entailed?
Come on.
Tell us.
Our time is up.
Honorable. I mean, you can't make
our time is up.
No. Have you cited the Compact 2 document?
My guests have been Honorable
Have you cited it?
Afenyo Martins, is the Member of Parliament for Ifutu, NPP MP, Governance Expert David Agbe. Thank you both, gentlemen, for coming. God willing, tomorrow we'll bring you another exciting discussion on PM Express. Until then, my name is Malik Abbas Dabu. Bye-bye.